Hello, Predator Minute listeners. Jeff and I recorded a long conversation about coronavirus and teaching in Washington State. You can find that conversation at the end of this week's episode after the outro music.
That's your title right there.
What's that?
Coronavirus and toilet paper?
Yeah.
For the episode?
I think the episode's more like Dillon is disarmed, if I'm being honest, because his arm is blown off. Oh. And the name of the track on the soundtrack for this movie, track, where his arm is blown off, is literally called Dillon is Disarmed. It's pretty funny.
I know. I like that.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
Yeah. Sense of humor in soundtrack world. Cool. All right. So you ready to start?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that is still out there, still blasting in your earbuds. And it's all about how we break down the 1987 action sci-fi classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
I'm Jeff Glover.
Classy. And today we're talking minute 74 of Predator.
Here we are, John.
Here we are, Jeff. So we're still alive and kicking. I know it's been kind of an intermittent release schedule over the last couple of weeks, but there's some circumstances around that.
We've had a lot going on, people.
Yeah.
You regular listeners know that John and I are from the Pacific Northwest. We live here, and this is apparently the epicenter of the U.S. coronavirus outbreak. So things have been a little off the wall around here.
A little bit crazy. Yeah, we're both teachers as well.
Yeah,
so anything publicly released and where the governor might be, I don't know, officially ordering public employees to do something, we have to do that.
We do. And we did it.
We did it by
not doing anything.
We did it. Yep. Governor Inslee says, shut them down. Shut them all down.
Shut them down.
No, shut them all down. Hurry.
So here's what I don't understand. Can I quickly tell you a little story here?
A little tangential, if you will.
A tangential story.
Sure.
I was at the grocery store the other day, and people in the Northwest have a habit of overreacting to bad news, bad weather. If a little bit of snow falls, all of a sudden all the canned goods fly off the shelves, right?
Yep. Too much rain.
Right. There's too much rain. Yeah. Everything. There's no hand sanitizer for some reason. I'm at the store and it's actually pretty normal. Like there's a normal amount of food. All the canned goods are there. The soap is there. Hand sanitizer, that's pretty low. But all in all, everything seems normal.
Sure.
Until I walk down the toilet paper aisle. For some reason, people in this part of the world think that a pandemic is going to use up all the toilet paper. There was a sign hanging that said, customers are limited to buying 5 packages of toilet paper per person.
Oh my gosh.
Now, we were out of toilet paper. I was just going, it was on my grocery list. I wasn't there to hoard it. It was just on my list, like a normal grocery list that we needed toilet paper. Most of it's gone. So I'm like looking around the shelf I just need to bring home some toilet paper. So at the very end of the aisle, there's a stack. And this probably should have been a giveaway, but it was all the same brand and it was still there. And it was like these 12 packs of like double rolls or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, cool, perfect. And it's actually pretty inexpensive. So I throw that in the cart. Flash forward, I get home, I'm putting the toilet paper away, and I take out a couple rolls to refill our bathroom. And I realize this is why it was still there.
Is it the scented?
No, it's like the transparent toilet paper you would get in a Chevron bathroom. It's so thin it almost falls apart in my hand as I'm taking it out of the wrapper.
Oh no.
To use some of this, I have to fold it back and forth a minimum 6 times before it's usable.
Oh man.
It is so thin.
Oh.
And that made me think of a couple thin toilet paper jokes. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
My toilet paper is so thin.
How thin is it?
It's so thin, it's like a fine slice of prosciutto, but instead of melting in your mouth, it melts in your asshole.
I would have also accepted it melts in your butt.
My toilet paper is so thin.
How thin is it?
It's like using a tissue to clean peanut butter out of carpet. My toilet paper is so thin.
How thin is it?
It helps me stay in touch with my inner self. That's all I got.
That is really good. I like the carpet. If I had to vote, I would say the carpet's the
That was
winner.
my favorite too. So, anyway, public service announcement. Everyone in the Northwest, you don't need to hoard toilet paper. Leave some for the rest of us. So I'm not using half the roll for one wipe.
Exactly.
Oh,
Oh man, well, I have a work day tomorrow, so maybe I'll go recoup some toilet paper from work.
yeah. Take one of those big old industrial rolls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty good there. It's pretty good at work. It's not the Chevrolet thin slice. Like watching your weight toilet paper.
Yeah.
That gas station stuff. Oh, that's good stuff.
Thanks.
Oh.
Well, are we anyway, minute 74.
Yeah. We're going to keep planning on making these and releasing these in a timely fashion. So without further ado, that's the one. We're talking minute 74 of Predator. Minute 74 opens with Dillon looking into the open jungle scanning, and it ends with Dillon doing a really awkward turn the wrong way to face an oncoming attacker? Question mark? Yeah, this whole scene, this whole minute is just super duper awkward. So we need to dive into what's happening right away.
Yeah, this scene is pretty different than every other scene in this movie. I feel like, right? We kind of touched on this a little bit last episode, but there's some camera work here that's different. I think this is the only time in the movie we see slow motion. Correct me if I'm wrong. But,
I think so. There's gratuitous slow motion in the A-Team springboard launching and the guerrilla camp attack.
Right.
But just action wise up to this point, I don't think there's been any other slow-mo.
Yeah. And this whole scene, we'll get into it, but it has a very dreamlike quality, disorienting quality to it for sure.
Yeah, very dreamlike. So do you want to take us from the top about what's happening here in this first part?
Yeah, let's do it. So we'll break this into pretty much two 30-second chunks. The first part will go from up to about second 34. We carry over from last minute. Dillon is still turned towards where he heard the ominous anytime coming from the jungle. Anytime. There's some clicking as we cut to a diagonal panning shot of the jungle. We cut back to Dillon's face.
Dillon.
To close up. Perhaps we hear some rain starting to fall. Cut back to the jungle, panning by as Dillon scans for the enemy. We cut to Dillon's face as he sees something. We get a push-in shot of the cloaked predator standing on a branch, and his eyes flash the yellow-green that we've seen before. And Dillon's eyes open wide. Pause there.
There's a lot to unpack here in this first half minute, but what stands out to you?
This is what stood out to me here is that after watching this several times, I noticed, and I confirmed this when I looked at your notes, is that we can actually see the predator as he's scanning across the jungle. And if you're not looking for it, you can easily miss it, just like Dillon does.
Yeah, he totally misses it.
Yeah, but the cloaked predator is up there in the jungle. And my big takeaway here is that the predator is 100% just fucking with these guys.
Oh, totally.
With the eye glow, he just announces his presence. We'll get into it here in a minute, but he does not choose to kill Dillon straight away. And even after firing the shot that he fires, he jumps out of the trees and starts running around like he's just playing a game. So
yeah.
We really learn here the predator's just a cold-hearted killer who's just out hunting for sport.
No sport.
What?
No sport.
Yeah, he's the worst.
What are you thinking? What do you take away from this first half?
Well, your first mention about seeing the predator before Dillon sees it, I think I'm pretty sure over and over in this movie, when I've watched the little clips here and there online of when the team is looking at the jungle and the predator is out there, but you can't see it and the team can't see it. Over and over when I check those video clips, people swear in the comments that you can see the predator's outline, the camouflage. And I've looked anywhere between like 1 and 200 times at any kind of combination of those clips, and never ever have I seen the outline of the predator that people are saying is clearly there. But this is the one time in the movie, I think the only time in the movie where we could miss it.
Right.
And
I think you're absolutely right.
Like you said, Dillon misses it as well.
Yeah. I think you're right, because we really poured over those jungle shots earlier in the film to try to find any semblance of a shot of the predator there, but you never do. Like people can claim they see an outline, but I'm telling you, people, it's not there. This is the one. This is the first time that actually.
This is the one, and it's a couple things stand out to me when you see this kind of thing in a movie. One is that the director is giving you a little bit of credit, because if you're keen on finding that predator while Dillon is keen on finding the predator too, then right, if you're that attentive, then you might be able to see it that first time.
Right.
But also, this is made for repeat viewing. This is right away kicking it into seeing this more than once so they can catch all the little details, because there's way more than just that as a little detail you could pick up the second and third and 100th time you watch this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the flashing of the green and yellow eyes, I really like. I hate the predator, but I really love that move. Mm-hmm. Right, that's such kind of a gangster move.
Yeah,
to flash the eyes right there. As soon as he's scanning over the jungle and he does that, he just announces his presence, like he doesn't give a shit. And here I am. I'm about to shoot you. I don't know. It's such a villainous move.
Yeah, and the way Dillon is reacting to that right before the predator flashes his eyes tells me that Dillon does recognize that predator could be right there in the tree, right where he's looking, because the extreme close-up on Dillon's face doesn't change cut to cut when it cuts to the predator flashing the eyes back to Dillon's face. Dillon's eyes are just now realizing, or Dillon's mind is realizing, that his eyes are catching the discrepancy accurately, that he is seeing the predator.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're meant to believe that he sees it right before the predator flashes the eyes, kind of saying like, yep, you see me. I'm right here.
Yeah, I see it.
I see it.
Yeah. And we cut back to his eyes, and and they kind of widen, and we get that confirmation that, yeah, he sees him.
I see it.
Mm-hmm. And is this the last time the predator flashes his eyes? Because I think that makes for a total of 3, if that's the case.
I believe so, because when we head to the one-on-one portion of the film with Arnold, most of the times we see the predator, he's not cloaked, I feel like, or a lot of the time. And
right, or if he is cloaked, they don't give him the glowy eyes.
Yeah, he's zooming around, running around. So yeah, this might be it.
And maybe I have the count wrong. I know it's at least twice. I know Mac sees the predator flash his eyes after the predator kills Blaine.
Mm-hmm.
And then is the second time, gosh, I might be conflating that with the time that Dillon sees the predator after the predator blows up their trap.
Oh, yeah.
And
do we not get an eye flash there?
I don't know if that's an eye flash or if that's just the predator announcing.
He just fires his cannon into the clearing, right?
Right. I'm watching the minute. This is minute 68. The predator hangs around the tree cloaked, looks at Dillon, cloaks again, and then runs off. There's no eye glow. So I think we just see it twice.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Oh, man. So like something that I've always associated with a predator as a common whatever common appearance is really rare. It's twice in this movie.
Yeah, but that kind of speaks to how effective that little special effect is. That one little trait, that attribute they decided to give our villain, really sticks in your mind, which means they really executed it perfectly. If it's going to make that big of an impression.
Yes, it's used that well, and I think overall for all the Predator's traits, they do a really good job in this movie of limiting them, so that that whole picture that you're trying to put together in your mind is made of just a few bits and pieces of the eye glows here and picking up a scorpion here and having a little bit of heat vision there, and a whole universe spawns from this, from just like the little bits and pieces that we see.
Yeah.
We can talk, and you're probably excited to talk about the next part.
I was just going to say I'm super excited to talk about this next section.
Okay, but last thing I want to talk about this first section is, for whatever reason, and it's not mentioned in the commentary, and I'll talk a little bit about the commentary later on. But about the second, when is it? It cuts to Dillon close to the beginning of the minute, seconds 5 to 9. You're looking at Dillon's face diagonal, and he's scanning the jungle. You can see his eyes doing some great eye acting here. Yeah. But as you're looking at him, I swear you can see some rain falling, which I don't remember any other part in the movie before this or after this where you have rain. And I don't know if this was just happening to be filming on a rainy day, but I do like that little bit of effect that it gives, maybe a little bit more claustrophobic feeling to that scene.
Around what second are you looking at when you think you see that?
It's like second 5, I want to say. Second 5 to 9. And then after that, you don't see any little droplets anymore.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. I bet it was just a rainy day in the jungle that day when they were shooting, to be honest.
Yeah. I imagine shooting in the jungle with all of its challenges would be extra challenging if you're trying to specifically film on a rainy day, just with how crazy the weather can be.
Yeah.
But anyway, so a little unintentional, maybe filming to add a little bit of, I don't know. I don't even know if it's tension more, or if it's just
atmosphere,
claustrophobia, or maybe atmosphere, atmosphere. All right, let's jump to the second part. Let's stop beating around the arm and jump to the second part.
This is one of my. I don't like seeing Dillon. Well, he's going to eventually die. I did not write a limerick for this minute because he's not actually dead yet in this minute.
You could write a limerick for part of him.
A partial limerick.
That right arm.
Yeah. He's going to be all right.
But I don't like seeing another one of our characters getting blasted. But I do love the effect of this section. I love the special effects here that we get with the shot that hits Dillon. So, if I may, should I just run through the quick synopsis here?
Oh, please, you may.
Okay, so starting at second 34, the music is going to ramp up, and we're going to see Dillon very slowly bringing his gun up.
Really slowly.
This is some of the slow motion we get in this section. And it's like real slow motion, like you kind of see like the jittery frame slow motion. And he starts to point it up towards the Predator, and we get a quick cut back, and we see the Predator's laser sight fire up, and cut back to him again. We see the gun get a little bit higher. We see him squeeze the trigger, cut to a wider shot of him firing his weapon, and then we get the Predator shooting his laser cannon down at Dillon. And I love this. It's kind of a slow motion shot, and we just sort of follow the laser cannon as it comes down and it hits Dillon. It looks like at first it might be in the chest, but then we quickly learn it's actually in the right shoulder. And Dillon screams and writhes, and we see in the next shot the gun is hitting the ground, and then it's revealed that his arm is still attached to the gun.
Oh, and what an arm, too.
Oh. And we get this great effect where the arm is still, the fingers are still squeezing the trigger as it's on the ground, separated from Dillon's body, and it's still firing away. And for some reason, that just tickles me every time. I love it.
If you're wondering, one of the most commonly cut scenes from this movie to put it on TV, like you're looking at probably number one right here.
Yeah. And then we just kind of cut back to Dillon screaming. We get a shot of the predator now running through the woods. Another shot of Dillon's wide-eyed face, clearly in shock because he's lost his arm. At the very end of the minute, he kind of is lifting up his gun with his good arm off of his shoulder, and minute ends. Oh, that's good stuff right there.
Yeah, one of the better practical effects you're going to see, I think.
Yeah, it's so good. We get a lot of them in quick succession here with all these deaths, and it's really fun. Being a horror movie fan, I put a lot of stock into creative deaths. I love a good creative death. I love some good practical special effects to go along with it. And we get Mac's exploding head, and now we get Dillon's severed arm, and it's just a treat. One thing after another.
Yeah.
For a guy like me, I love it. It's great.
Yeah, he is. He's going down piece by piece. This predator is just for some reason really focusing on stretching out Dillon's death scene here. Don't know why. Maybe he's seeing him as like a really worthy foe by trying to come see him in person here at the end. Not really sure, but taking off the arm must be some, I don't know, weird playing strategy, real weird hunting strategy to, who knows, like try to literally disarm the opponent before you take him on one-on-one.
Yeah. I mean, Dillon's kind of, one of the de facto leaders, quote unquote, if you will, like, although Dutch is really kind of the leader of the group, Dillon has kind of tried to push on everyone else that he's also in a role of leadership. And although we may not feel that way about him in the context of our characters, he feels that way about himself. And it is kind of a big deal for him to die in the story, because he was a pretty integral character here.
Well, yeah, I mean, he and Mac going out really closely together, right, is just telling you like anybody is fair game now.
Right.
It's a race to the finish to see who survives this movie. What I was going to say, you mentioned like it being very dreamlike, especially with everything being in slow motion.
Yeah.
If you'll notice, the Predator is not doing anything in slow motion. In comparison, the Predator seems to be moving quite at ease, at full speed. First in aiming the laser, firing the laser, and then running up to Dillon or running around a weird perimeter, like an arc.
Yeah,
like
he's
almost like a tangent.
In the jungle too. Like he's going fast.
Oh, he's booking. He is running, and that's part of that analysis. There comes further from this video I talked about last minute called "Spot the Subliminals" by Collative Learning.
Yeah.
Again, check that video out for more analysis. But I think I covered most of that there, and just like any bad dream, like you're not able to do the things you're trying to do. Like you can't run fast enough, or you just can't move when you're trying to run. It's just incredibly to the point where even after he loses his arm and he's screaming, Dillon seems to be in shock enough to try to react without feeling the pain anymore towards the end of the minute by grabbing his other gun. It's like
the classic dream that you can have, right, where you can't run fast or you're stuck. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever had that dream? Or
Yes, I've definitely had that one.
And that's like what's happening here. Like he's seeing everything happen around him fast, maybe even faster than it's really happening, and yet he can't move even at a normal speed is kind of the impression that we get here. He's sort of stuck. He's stuck in slow motion.
Very much. And towards the end, he's trying to make use of this other MP5 that I think is the one that Arnold gave him, but like he does it all backwards. Like he's tracking the Predator, turning his head right to left to see that, and the gun is at his left, and he still has the left arm, but instead of just pulling the gun up, he's trying to pull the gun like off his shoulder and then turn the other way, the long way towards the Predator who's coming to probably attack, and we don't know yet. Maybe the predator's just running away again to really taunt him, like, haha, blew off your arm.
Right.
That guy sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, just one bad thing happening and then leading to more, I don't know, bad decisions.
I'm gonna stand up and grab one more beer.
Oh yeah.
I think we should talk about the name of this track, because that's really awesome.
This track is the track in the first part of this minute is calling us back to really every time the team discussed the Predator. They would talk about Hopper and his Green Berets strung up. They would both when it happened, and then much later when Dillon is talking about how the Predator did to Hawkins the same thing that he had done to Jim Hopper and his men.
Hopper. What? They did the same thing to Jim Hopper.
We hear that again here in the beginning of the minute. Eventually that ramps up right when the Predator fires the laser and hits Dillon. But because we've heard it a few times when Dillon is talking about the Predator or what's been happening to the team at the hands of the Predator, I associate this theme more with Dillon, just Dillon in general. That kind of before it ramps up, especially because before it ramps up, it's kind of like this kind of curious piece of music. There's a little bit of discovery, maybe a tinge of horror to it. Mm-hmm. This kind of, and then when it ramps up, it really becomes a full track for this whole minute of Dillon discovering the Predator face to face, and then being taken down by the Predator. And the track itself is titled "Dillon is Disarmed."
I love that.
I love that too.
I was cracking up.
Could you imagine buying this soundtrack ahead of the movie, and you're reading the tracks, and you're like, huh. Yeah. Like Dillon is disarmed, so like he loses his weapon. Like nope, he loses more than his weapon.
Yeah,
he loses
a literal title. Yeah,
his gun arm. Some people call this a symbolic shot of him losing his arm because that was his. I thought he already opened a beer like a minute ago. That's amazing. Oh, okay. Because this is a very it makes up one of the symbolic shots of this movie when he and Dutch shake hands in minute 5 of this movie.
Dillon!
Dixon.
You son of a bitch.
You see their right arms, their big, bulging, manly arms.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils?
And at this point, now he's losing that symbol of manliness, according to
good. Well done. Good
analysis.
Good term paper there.
Yeah.
You're right. It is really symbolic of him just like getting his nuts cut off. Like
exactly.
They're going to take away the thing that made you manly, the thing that was your power, and now he's just helpless.
Mm-hmm. Just he's a sitting duck.
You think that the Predator was meaning to shoot his arm off, right? Do you?
I think so. We don't see where the Predator is aiming the laser at all, other than we just see the laser come down. But if we saw those 3 dots, a little Air Force symbol, then I imagine it going right on Dillon's shoulder. Because he tries the same move with Dutch later on.
Right. And we've seen him be pretty accurate with that cannon, right? So
yeah, very accurate.
Shooting what he wants to shoot, whether it's a head or Blaine's chest. I think he very purposefully just shot Dillon's arm off. And as I mentioned earlier, it's just kind of he's just, like I said, he's just fucking with him. He's just a cold-hearted, stone-cold killer. And at this point, he's just messing with Dillon. He's like, I'm going to shoot your arm off. I'm going to run through the jungle so you get all weirded out and going to finish the job eventually. But it's hardcore.
Oh, I love that laser coming down. It has a cool little sound effect.
Oh, my God. And the special effects of that laser cannon and the sparks that fly when it hits him. Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm. So, that laser cannon.
The blue laser. So good.
Ugh. That laser sound itself, just to me, like if I were to continue my term paper, I would say that once that laser sound pops up along with the laser, the sound itself is like this this harbinger. It's like this inevitable thing that's going to happen. I've aimed the laser. It's now going to fire.
Right.
Last thing I'll say, I think the last little piece of analysis I have is just looking at the Predator cloaked in this minute when he stands there and glows his eyes, when he aims the laser, and even when he's running across the screen, we think maybe to Dillon. Dillon. It is not looking like the Kevin Peter Hall 7-foot costume yet. I think this was shot earlier on before they made the costume change, because to me it looks like a little guy running, like the Jean-Claude Van Damme iteration.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was thinking about that too. Like, he is quite nimble flying through the jungle in that scene right there.
Yeah, looks like a little guy, like a point guard, like dodging trees. And he has this big, weird head that does not look like his Rastafarian dreadlocked head. It looks more like, I don't know, almost like a Rocketeer helmet head is what I always thought.
It does. You're right. Yeah. Maybe we're seeing the other Jean-Claude Van Damme shot in this film.
Yeah, exactly. And even though it's not the full Kevin Peter Hall, it's still terrifying to see this mostly cloaked thing now running at you. I can't imagine. Oh, I can't imagine just the terror this poor Dillon is going through. He sees it. It shoots his arm off. He can't kill it. Is running at him now, and you can make out bits and pieces of him.
Yeah, and I just love this scene. We've talked about this over and over again, but just the thought that was put into the way a lot of these scenes are composed and edited and put together to give you a certain feeling or to draw out the suspense. I think it's really expertly done. I think it's why this film continues to live on as one of the great action films of the last 30, 40 years. It's just because of the attention to detail on scenes like this. And I don't know, it's a real treat to go back and watch it again and really kind of break it down. So this is a fun one. Yeah,
because even though you might know all the beats, it's I don't know, to me it's a pleasure to watch, and it's just filmed so well. And like you said, this scene itself just being like this little microcosm of a horror movie that we don't see this at all again. Like, it never pans over Dutch in this weird diagonal Dutch angle later on in the movie. Hey, it's like he has his own set of shots when it comes Dutch versus the Predator that I can't wait to dive into those as well. But first, we kind of have to bring this minute to a close. So did you have anything else about minute 74?
I think we've covered it. Yeah. I think we did it. I have nothing else. No other notes. How about yourself?
I guess the last thing I'll say is John McTiernan on the commentary is he's left off talking about why they had to cut some things in order to secure the R rating and not the NC-17 rating. But or is it an X rating in the 80s? I don't really remember.
Right.
Regardless, he is starting to talk about a sequence that he wrote for the movie that was not used in the movie. I'll just briefly describe this scene. He originally wanted to change the script from. He originally wanted to change the shot of the team rappelling from helicopters into the jungle to a more action-packed scene of the team jumping out of the back of a C-130 Hercules cargo plane in a series of halo jumps. Those are the high-altitude, low open jumps that you see in Mission Impossible Fallout. They do that, for instance, over some city in Europe. I don't remember. But he wrote that all for them to be doing, to the point where in the middle of the scene, a Soviet MiG was supposed to approach the plane, and the pilot wanted to pull the plane out of harm's way and not go through with it. But then Dutch pulls a gun on the pilot and says, "Keep to it. We're going to do this." The team jumps out with their parachutes. Arnie is the last one to jump out of the plane. As he's about to jump out, he doesn't yet have his parachute, and he just grabs one from the wall before he jumps out. And then the team lands and continues on with the mission. And to me, as I was hearing him talk about it, I thought, well, this sounds like an Arnold movie. I feel like he's done
like a familiar scene.
A very familiar scene, and it wasn't in Predator. John McTiernan goes on to say that this scene was actually used in the Arnold film Eraser in 1996.
Got it. Okay, that's why it sounds familiar.
Yeah, it changes a little bit in Eraser, if I remember correctly. Like, he's fighting on an airplane and he has to jump out of the airplane without the parachute and like catch the parachute in midair, I think.
That's not one of my favorite Arnolds. That was
If you're watching Eraser, go watch it for the airplane scene and know that John McTiernan wrote that scene. Who knew?
That's interesting. I'm trying to. That would have been. Sometimes we see these script differences, and I'm like, that would not have fit into the film. This is one I could have seen working. Like, there's enough action sequences in this movie that I could see that being okay. But I imagine it was left out for budgetary reasons, perhaps. But
yeah, or the people just said that's way too involved with the scene for like we just want the team to go to the jungle. Like in the movie, it's just like they're in the jungle minute 7 or 8.
Yeah, right. We just need to move the story along. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm watching the scene from Eraser right now, and it's really a big shootout between Arnold and James Caan, Sonny, on the plane with the door open, where the door should be just ripping everybody out. But anyway, I think the one thing that John McTiernan is taking credit for is the fact that Arnold jumps out of the plane without a parachute and has to catch it. But the rest does not really match up at all. I like where he shoots the crocodile and he says, "Your luggage."
Your luggage.
Your luggage.
Oh, man, they were running out of one-liners by then.
Yeah.
The one-liners were all used up by the mid-90s. All right, well, have we done it, John?
We've done it.
Cover minute 674.
That's right. Not 64. We've done it. We've killed minute 74. We killed off Dillon's arm. Sorry, Dillon.
We may or may not have a limerick next episode. Stay tuned for that.
I like those odds.
Yeah, me too.
We might.
As long as we're all still here. I got hand sanitizer. I got masks. I got toilet paper, although it's not very good. But we're alive and kicking.
What do you have to recommend for us this week, Jeff?
Ooh.
Toilet paper from a gas station.
Yeah, I do not recommend that. What am I recommending? So let's see. I'm going to recommend a movie, as I often do. This is you guessed it, a horror movie that I watched recently. And I'm going to recommend this with the caveat that you need to like these kinds of movies. The name of the movie is called Color Out of Space.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, this is a sci-fi horror film starring Nicolas Cage. It just came out this year, 2019. You can probably find it on like VOD. You can rent it online. Anyway, it's a story that's based on an H.P. Lovecraft short story. And if you know anything about H.P. Lovecraft and his short stories, he was a kind of a horror sci-fi writer from the early 20th century. And many of his stories have been turned into horror films, most notably like Reanimator is probably the most famous one. But they often include stories of like body horror. If you know Reanimator, it's about a scientist who develops a serum that will bring dead bodies back to life, and you get this whole story arc of these sort of like living dead people, and there's a lot of blood and dead bodies walking around. And so anyway, Color Out of Space is also kind of a body horror film, and it just begins with Nicolas Cage lives in the country with his wife and 2 kids, 2 teenage kids, and they live kind of this idyllic, quiet life. They do farming on this property, and one night a meteor or some object comes down from the sky and lands in the forest right outside their home. And in the next couple days, a lot of strange things starts happening, most notably very colorful plants and flowers start growing all over their property. And it starts to kind of infect all the livestock and wildlife they have there, and the story kind of progresses from there. And as usual, I don't want to talk too much more about it because I don't want to give away the story, but is pretty crazy. And if you like kind of crazy body horror, sci-fi horror movies, you should check it out because it goes in places that I did not expect, and it was pretty fun. So, Color Out of Space, starring Nicolas Cage.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there's my recommend. What do you got for us this week, John?
Gosh, I had to remember. It's because I feel like I was ready last week. What was I going to do this week? This happens like every week. Sorry. Oh, I know. So like when you're about to work out, but you have to take off that like metal wedding ring.
I don't exercise.
Wow, that was like the real drop there.
I don't exercise.
I don't exercise. Okay, well, let's say you have to take it off
Drinking
for whatever reason.
high-calorie IPA.
Maybe you're like playing basketball, or you're like climbing on the jungle gym with your kiddos or something.
Oh, I know what you mean. I wear a wedding ring that I literally can't get off my finger. So
yeah, and like it, it runs the risk of like scraping something or like catching on something. I know there's horror stories out there with the metal wedding rings or metal wedding bands. Just recently, my wife showed me on Amazon that you could buy these silicone wedding bands, and I absolutely just love them. I bought like a 4-pack for, I don't know, $17 maybe, something like that. There's like a variety of colors, and what I love about it is I can wear it when I work out, and it's not going to catch on anything, or if it does, it's like it's flimsy. It's silicone. It's just going to kind of snap back. There's nothing. Yeah. There's no bad catch to it. So that's my big recommend is silicone rings. That's what I had.
Our listening audience thanks you.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that has one of those, and he also loves it as well. So your love is confirmed by my friend. I don't know.
Thanks. Yeah. Love is still confirmed. That's not to say you can't wear the cool symbolic ring that you exchanged on that day, or just wearing for fun or whatever. But yeah, it's a nice versatile ring, and they're cheap, and you can find them in a variety of colors. Go check them out.
Put on a silicone wedding ring and then watch Color Out of Space.
Hey, there you go. Combine our recommends. You'll have a magnificent time in these unsettled times.
Yeah, seriously. Might as well have fun now. Shit.
Yeah, no kidding. Before the government shuts it all down. Ooh.
Where we're living in a chain link fence dome.
Who is it? Is that Dean Norris? Yeah, the guy from Breaking Bad. Wasn't there a show, The Dome, or something like that? Living in a Dome.
Yeah, Under the Dome, based on a Stephen King novel. Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course. Nice.
A lot of people up in arms about that because The Simpsons did an episode where they lived under a dome, or was it in the movie? I can't remember. It was the movie. The movie, yeah. And that came out several years before Stephen King's book.
Okay, so where can people find you, Jeff?
I'm on the Twitter. If you've been following me there, I apologize for the blast of tweets. Last weekend it was F This Movie Fest. I am Carl_Hungus314. Come follow me there.
My name is Carl. Ich bin expert.
I will be picking up the Twitters again here. I'll have lots of time to sit around and on my phone while my kids run around the house destroying things.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, come follow me there as I slowly lose my mind.
Awesome. Thank you. And you can find Predator Minute on Twitter. We are at Predator Minute. You can email the show, predatorminute@gmail.com. And you can join the listeners group on Facebook, Predator Minute Listeners Palapa. I named it Listener Society last week, and I didn't have a good way to edit around that. I guess I could have taken a palapa out of Dillon saying it. Predator Minute Listeners Palapa.
It's okay because I watched Dead Poets Palapa last weekend, so I made up for it.
It's my favorite movie, Palapa-ater. All right, so for all things Predator Minute 74, I've been John Zabriskie.
And I am Jeff Glover.
And until next time,
stick around.
Stick around.
Stick around.
We have no quotes from this minute because this was a dialogue-free minute.
Yeah, just a real looker of It was very, very exciting. I forgot to mention that, but I was looking at the lines of dialogue to come, and they're very sparse. We're going to be overloaded pretty soon with dialogue-free minutes, which is pretty exciting. It's fun to talk visuals pretty much solely.
All right, hey, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Good work,
Let's do it
guys.
again.
Yeah, I know I'm going to have more time, so
Yeah, we can.
bring out a couple episodes per week if we want to going forward, I think.
Yeah.
So did I text you this? I did, I think. We just got an email saying that we're actually suspending all classes, period.
Yeah, I saw that all the classes are going to be suspended.
Yeah. It's fine, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, man. What's going on? I just had to cancel my trip to Vegas.
Oh, your March trip because
There's no March Madness.
there's no. Are they canceling the games?
Oh, the whole tournament's canceled.
Oh no! I just thought they were
Everything.
going to play in front of no fans.
No, they've canceled it all. Same with the NBA. Same with there's golf tournaments being canceled. There's tennis is all sporting events. Period.
Yes, I saw that on ESPN how they're delaying everything. I thought they're just suspending the NBA.
Maybe you're right. Yeah, but NCAA is just canceled for the year. It's just done. There's no national championship this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. And then we were like, well, we could still just go, but then I don't know if it's such a good idea to go to a place where you're packed in with a bunch of other people, touching poker chips that are being passed around a table.
Yeah, the casinos are pretty gross anyway. It's could you make them any grosser? I guess you could.
Yeah.
Start sneezing and stuff. Oh.
Yeah, with a pandemic, you could make it grosser.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we finally at the very end of the school day today received word that we were closing school. I don't know. It's weird to call it that because we still have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what tomorrow's going to look like because.
Are you guys going to try to continue school online? It sounds like no one's really doing that anymore.
It sounds like you all were one of the few districts doing it, and then you all gave up.
Well, we were the first. Well, it's because, the state sent out a notification to all the districts saying you need to put a plan in place in case you have to close.
Right.
And so our superintendent did, to her credit. And then we had a couple confirmed cases of parent volunteers or whatnot in the district. And she made the decision because it was spreading to just close. And we had already put together a plan, a contingency plan. And so we just went to it. But things have escalated so much now. I think the thing is that with Seattle closing and these other big districts that Seattle doesn't have the resources to give every family that needs it a computer,
Right.
And because Seattle's massive and they have tons of populations that don't have enough resources.
Right.
And so I think it becomes an equity thing where the OSPI is probably we can't have some districts in our state that are continuing and others that are not.
Yeah.
It's not equitable. I don't know.
So
although they're only closing the 3 counties, the rest of the state is still running. So I don't know. Maybe
yeah, for now though. I mean,
for now, yeah,
seems like it doesn't take much. Man, alive, that's crazy. So from now until when, April 24th?
April 24th is the date they set. Yeah,
which is a Friday. It's the Friday after spring break for us.
Yeah, us too. And we have a trip to Disneyland planned for spring break.
Oh, I think you were telling me about that in the last Predator Minute.
Here, right?
Yeah, and right now Disneyland is closed.
Disneyland is closed?
They're closed till the end of March. And
no.
Hopefully they'll reopen. But if they don't, we're going to have to cancel that trip too.
Oh, this is nuts.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
On the bright side, I got some toilet paper jokes for our podcast today.
We have an okay amount. It's definitely depleted down here at the little local IGA, but
we'll talk. We need to talk about it on once you start recording because.
Oh, I started recording 5 minutes ago.
You are recording.
Just because it's it's pretty seminal. It's pretty interesting time capsule, interesting moment.
I know. It's pretty surreal. Yeah.
It's very surreal to be sitting in class and like seeing all the updates happen. And then like I received the email at like 2:15 or something like that from the district saying like, we're going to close down the schools. Like my eyes go all big when I'm reading the emails, but I don't say anything. And the kids are all taking this district assessment. Like,
oh God,
I'm not going to say anything. And then of course, like J. Fred hops on the intercom and like 2:20 or something like that. And it's just like, okay, check your emails, teachers, about possible school closures. All the kids are like, brr. I'm like,
The most important part of that paragraph is that you now call Jennifer J. Fred.
Yeah, it just saves time.
I love that. Oh man, yeah, it's pretty strange. So, did you notice like a drop in your attendance this week? No, I'm serious. I'm curious.
Yeah. It was a heavy drop in attendance. And today was like my worst day so far. I think I had 20 plus out of my 148 students absent.
Yeah,
a good chunk. And then from what I heard is that was actually small compared to some other classes where I think overall we had maybe a couple hundred people out of our 1,000 kids absent. Like, whoa,
jeez,
oh my gosh, it's just crazy. But yeah, I don't know.
In the end, it's good though, because like what they're, I mean, the idea is to slow the spread, right? There's no stopping the infection, really. Like
right.
If you look at other parts of the country, or parts of the world, Italy, China, or whatnot, like it's going to spread. It's just sort of inevitable. But if you can, the problem is if it spreads too fast, it overloads the healthcare system, right? There's not enough beds, there's not enough doctors, not enough medicine, whatever. So if you can slow the spread, like flatten the curve, as they say, to a reasonable rate, then you can handle the infection. So it's good. Like it's in the end, it's the right move. It's just we don't know how long it's going to be for, and that's weird. Yeah.
It's really weird. It's a really weird moment too, because we don't have a vaccine for it, and so we're all like just kind of like running around without our like normal vaccinated body armor that we would have for things like
we don't even have
pox.
enough tests for it. Like our Congress is just like shitting themselves trying to like figure out a package to get tests and coverage for everyone to get testing and blah blah blah. It's a mess.
What do you think about missing this like huge chunk of school? I was telling Sarah, it was really interesting because I was teaching them. I was like trying to brush them up on their claim writing and evidence and reasoning. Yeah. And a claim I wrote a couple years ago, and then I was sharing that this week, and they always hate it because it's a good claim. I was talking about how we should have year-round schooling. Because when they take off these big summer months, there's this like 8 to 13 week period when they first start schooling where they are catching back up to speed with the material and the speed of school. Yeah. And they're all just like, I don't know. But then you're hit in the face with like a huge chunk of missed school, and we're gonna put that theory right to the test. Right. I did not mean to have that tested right away.
I know, man. I don't know. I think it's just going to be a year where you just have to write it off to what it is. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you think about it, like if you had missed 2 months of your high school career,
I did at one point, or a month. Did? It was crazy, but that's a story for another time.
Different story. Yeah, and you turned out fine, right? Like you're good.
It turned out great. Look, I'm talking about Predator one minute at a time.
You got your own podcast. I mean, you've made it.
Right.
I mean, most people, there's not a lot of these independent podcasts out there, right? Like we're one of the only ones.
It's funny you should say that, because when I mentioned that the other day to my classes, because they're talking about it on the CNN Kids program about podcasts, and I was like, yeah, like any of you all know what podcasts are? And like half of them were like, yeah, my dad has a podcast. My mom has a podcast. Right, yeah. Like, oh, shut up. No, they don't, though. Is it about Predator? I don't mention that.
It's not a real podcast, kids.
It's a podcast about a hair on your chest. Yeah. Parents can't claim that.
Nope.
Oh, I agree. We've made it. It's like we've hit the zenith.
Well, I told my students that I will definitely be leveraging my YouTube channel into worldwide YouTube fame. There's a good chance I won't be coming back to school.
Hey, what program do you
It's hard to
use?
know who's talking right now, Jeff. I'll be honest. It's like seeing you writing on the screen, and then you're like, da, da, da. Okay, here's Sarah wants to talk about
Sarah,
online.
yeah,
All
put
I
her
want
on.
to say is, what program are you using? It's a screencast.
I am. So what I'm doing right there is I'm in my classroom writing on my smartboard, but I'm using QuickTime to capture the screen on my computer.
Okay.
And then it can record my voice and also record what I'm writing on. You can also do the same thing with like an iPad and a stylus if you have that.
I kind of like that though because it's kind of kinesthetic. You're like at the board.
Yeah, I'm just so used to teaching and talking while I'm writing when I teach math that it was the most natural thing for me. So, yeah.
Cool. I bought Screencast-O-Matic, something like that, for a year just because I needed something to be able in this time to do screencasting. It's okay. But I was just wondering what else do other people do? I think there's a way to screencast on PowerPoint also.
Oh, really? You can, I don't know, people did different things. Like some people were holding like virtual classrooms. They would get all their students to log into Zoom and have a big like video conference call. And then
I saw a shot of that on Twitter about your district.
And then they would have their iPad like airdropped to their MacBook, and then they could tell Zoom to mirror their iPad screen, and they would write on it with a stylus and like use an app called Explain Everything, where you can like pull your Google Slides like right into that app and then write on your slides. I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's technical.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The one thing I will take away from this week is I'm like actually really proud of all the teachers at my school, especially like my math department, and like the solutions that we came up with to make this week happen. And I feel like we really kind of got going by the end of this week, and it was like working, and now all of a sudden it's being cut off.
Oh my gosh, I feel kind of similar because we worked really hard last week to understand working in teams.
Yeah.
So we are following our full-on schedule, and we just find places like coffee shops or libraries, and we just go and teach for that entire class.
Oh, wow.
Teams.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's amazing. And I feel also very proud of our colleagues and also our students. I can't really see their eye rolls or their snarky comments, so maybe I'm like jaded, but they are just doing such a great job, and you can see their like little cute pets in their rooms with their posters, and it's just they're working so hard and they're asking questions, and it's just really sweet. It's just sweet.
Isn't it funny how they kind of feel at home in the digital world?
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed. Like there was a lot of hiccups and like wrinkles in trying to like figure out the attendance and like turning things in and finding my website, blah, blah, blah. But like once they did, it was just like they just rolled with it. Like, I don't know.
Why were you taking attendance?
We have to.
Okay, so are you doing the regular schedule then too? Like
we switched our schedule to have alternating blocks. So, and then Wednesday was like supposed to be tutorial day, which basically set up a system for us to basically have to push out 2 lessons a week. And
well,
the lesson, it's not too bad, but I made the lessons they have to be bigger to like, basically it was 2 lessons that you would normally do in like 4 days. You smush them down into 2 days.
That's how our schedule is normally.
Okay.
It's extremely nice.
Yeah. So we were doing that, and I was going to say something. I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, attendance.
Oh, attendance. Yeah. So we're required by the state to like legally to take attendance. Like if we're going to continue school online, they require that we have some sort of accountability.
Yeah.
So what I would have students do is I set up a Google form on my website, and they would have to sometime between like 7:30 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon, they have to go to my website and find the Google form link, click on it, and like just sign their name, like type out their name. And then at the end of the day, I would just curate the results, and it would pull up an attendance sheet for all my classes.
Whoa.
And I would just enter the attendance.
But someone could just write their name in for a friend.
Sure. Like there's holes in it, right? They could just write their name in and not do shit, right? I mean, like, but it's, I put the link with my lessons. So at the very least, I can say they had to see that my lesson was there to click on the link.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So there's a little bit of accountability there. Like they saw it. If they didn't do it, they didn't do it. But
wow. It's amazing. Yeah. I am. Yeah. So hearing about your school too, it makes me just proud of teachers in general then.
Yeah. I think we did a really good job.
Awesome, but now it's over. The dream.
Now I'm realizing my lifelong fantasy of being a stay-at-home dad.
Are your kids' preschool closed?
Well, Grace is in kindergarten, so her school's obviously closed.
Oh, right.
But their daycare center is open, and I've been using it this week because I just can't get anything done when they're both home.
Yeah.
No way.
So
No way.
I've been using it as needed. But I was talking to one of their workers today, and like they don't know if they're going to be able to stay open with all this happening. So it's all up in the air. I don't know. I might end up just like being stay-at-home dad for the next 6 weeks with my kids. I don't know.
Wow.
Whoa.
I know.
That's kind of what
Isn't
I'm most likely headed towards, I'll be honest.
It's kind of exhausting being at home with the kids.
It's not
all
kind
the
of.
time.
It's fucking
It's definitely
super exhausting.
John's like, I might have
I was about to say it's fucking terrible, but that sounded bad.
It's so hard.
Ugh.
It is physically exhausting where like the teaching is more mental.
Especially when you have no toilet paper. God.
We're just wiping with lettuce here. Why did we run out of lettuce and kale at the store?
Oh, man. We need to start the episode soon so that I can tell you my toilet paper story.
All right. We're going to bumper this episode with coronavirus and toilet paper. I love it.
Yes.
Oh, you're stealing toilet paper from school, weren't you? They give the big rolls there, the big industrial uncomfortable rolls. Sorry.
It's tangentially related to my story, kind of.
Hey, listen to you use a math term, tangential.
Hey.
It means it touches the circle but doesn't go in the circle.
That's right.
Just at one
curve.
single point.
Any curve.
Or a curve. Oh, or an arc.
Or an arc. Yep. Any
Arc.
curve. Could be a parabolic curve, hyperbolic curve.